Thank you, Debbie. Whether it's a tough economy or a good economy, one thing entrepreneurs can always use is money, especially other people's money. With us today is Michael Wall, Executive Director for Greater Newark Enterprises Corporation. He's an expert on providing financing and technical assistance to entrepreneurs. Michael, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So when entrepreneurs are looking for financing, a lot of times they don't really know how much money they need. How do they figure that out?
That's a great question, and it's typically one of the ones we see for most of the entrepreneurs that we deal with. They walk in with an idea, and they walk in thinking that, what's the maximum that I can qualify for? And trying to get them to realize and understand it's not the maximum, it's the project. What's the project? What are your costs of goods? What are you looking to do with the money? And then most importantly, how are you going to repay us the money that you're looking to borrow?
So how do they start to break that up? There's like cost of goods, there's initial startup costs, there's operating costs.
No, absolutely. And it's really some good questions that you pose there and that we talk to them about. And we really look for them to break down. So what's your concept? What's your idea? What's the project? And what are the fixed costs that are associated there? So could it be rent? Rent's a great example of a fixed cost. Variable costs. So is it the cost of a product or is it the cost of another service that you're bringing in that could fluctuate from time to time? And then most importantly, and the one that most of the entrepreneurs that we deal with struggle with, is really understanding their margin. So if it's costing me X to get the products to develop it, and I'm selling it for Y, is Z really what I need to support myself and move forward? And too many times, Z doesn't add up.
So when you figured out how much money you need, what are the different forms of financing or money that's available to you?
Sure. Well, most folks start at home. They start in their own pockets. So what do I have in my savings? What may I be able to do on my credit card? And too many times we see too many business owners who are trying to do everything just on their own credit card. You said in the beginning of this segment, and I love the phrase, other people's money, OPM. That's something that people should explore right from the get-go. And I think too many times we're afraid to have those conversations with our bankers because we're afraid they're going to say no or make us feel uncomfortable. And that's a real important question that they should be having and a conversation they should be engaging with. So whether they're starting in their own pockets or whether they're talking to banks, then people want to go out to angel networks. And angel networks can be a great thing, but now you're giving up a piece of your company. And are you really ready to give up equity? And I'd really challenge someone to think twice before they brought in someone to give up an equity position in their company and try to see what they can do on the debt side. So on the traditional lending side, whether it's through a micro lender like Greater Newark Enterprises, that we look to do micro loans between $1,000 and $50,000 for, or it's another traditional bank lender who may be able to work with them on a line of credit or a small term loan to get them over that hump.
But I know with alternative financing, there's also crowdfunding.
Correct.
What's that really about?
Correct. So crowdfunding, it's a great concept, and there's still some legislation that needs to be completed on it. But in a nutshell, it's going out there to a mass audience and telling them your story. And, think back to when we were in school and think back to when you were younger and the old adage of, he who tells the best story wins. And crowdfunding, it's really about telling your story because you're going out for mass appeal. And if you can create that mass appeal, you may be successful there.
So most business owners usually go to traditional banks. What are banks looking for nowadays? It's a tough economy.
Well, absolutely, without a doubt. And the old adage still rings true today. Cash is king. And if you can't show us how you can repay what you're looking to borrow, the deal's dead at the table. And when I say you need to be able to show us, we need to see documentation. So for the businesses that are keeping their money in shoeboxes and for the businesses that are putting the money underneath the mattress, that may be good now, but when it's time to borrow money, that really works against you. So we need to be able to see how you're going to repay it, and we also need to see what you're going to be able to collateralize and leverage with that.
Well, talking about collateral, what are some of the specific things that banks look for when you go to apply for that $100,000, $500,000 loan?
Sure. So the 5 C's that bankers always talk about. So it's collateral, it's conditions, capital, capacity, and character. Collateral, they're looking for something that's going to help mitigate their risk. They really want to know that in case the cash flow's not there or in case there's a challenge, how are we going to be able to recover what we've lent out to you? On the capacity side, they want to make sure that you have the bandwidth to deliver what you're talking about. So if you're looking to expand your business and you don't have the employees or the resources to do that, it may not make a lot of sense to us. The condition, so have you really done your homework, your market research as to where you're going, what your product is, who the competition is? And if you hadn't, If you haven't, we really need to take a look at that and see what we can do. The capital is always the skin in the game. What have you put into it? And if you haven't put any money into the project yet and you're waiting for my money, you're probably going to be waiting a long time. I need to see whether it's a combination of sweat equity and real capital or one or the other. We need to see that that's being applied and that's in there. And then most importantly, especially for us as microlenders, really comes down to character. Because sometimes we're dealing with people who may have had troubles with their credit, may have had troubles with their collateral. We really want to understand who the business owner is, what drives them, and how can we find a way to make this loan happen.
Michael, with the 5 C's and on that note of character, we hope you'll come back and join us in the program in the future.
It would be my pleasure.
Thank you so much for that information on how entrepreneurs can get financing.
Thank you.
Debbie, back to you.
All right, Chitra, thank you very much.